Ladies and gentlemen of Knucklehead Nation, welcome to Fighters Rep Podcast, episode 51. I am the Fighters Rep Fez here with our resident boxing expert, the legendary, soon to be admitted into the Hall of Fame at some point, I hope, because then that means we'll both be making a lot more money. Ignorant behavior. What's going on, Gary? How are you, brother?
Ain't not much. What's going on with you?
Good, man. Good. Just here, hot but alive, and getting through it. And really excited to talk to you about this Riyadh season card, man, that went down on Saturday. What an incredible card, Gary. If anything, right, it really made me feel like with the predictions that we did, and we didn't get all of them right? But it really made me feel like, and I expressed this to you earlier today, I felt like all the predictions, when we were, kind of giving a reason as to why it may not go the way we thought it would go, because these Riyadh season cards are pretty close, man. A lot of these fights are 50-50, unlike what we're typically used to seeing in boxing. And I felt like we touched on, possible potential outcomes that could have happened. And those happened when we didn't get the fight right? So it made me feel like, man, we're really, I feel like we got a strong knowledge base. You know what I mean? I feel like we kind of know what we're looking at. And that made me happy. By the way, shout out to JM. He says, "Hey guys, London locked in. Much love to London. Appreciate you being in here, JM."
Yeah.
Anyone's first time, obviously feel free to subscribe and join the channel and help us build. So Gary, let's kind of get started. I mean, I was thinking maybe, I don't know how far down the card you want to go, but I was thinking maybe we could start with Andy Ruiz versus Jarrell Miller, because I felt like that one was one that really stood out. Or maybe Jared Anderson. Maybe we start out with Jared Anderson versus Martin McCall.
That was a big one.
That was crazy. I mean, I'll let you get started since I've been full of hot air so far. I'm going to let you, tell me, what do you think about that fight? What do you think happened there?
Well, first I just want to say, I thought it was a pretty good card. Like between this one and the Shakur Stevenson fight, I thought we got two back-to-back really good cards. With Andy Cruz at the beginning, I was like at the very beginning, he even got a knockout. But Jared Anderson fight. I picked Jared Anderson. Now,
as did I.
Now Sean Porter, before the fight, he's like, for all the fights, big fights happen. He says, if it's any fight that I think is gonna be an upset, is that one. I think that one could be the upset, and he called it, man. He called it around the money, and I'm not gonna say here like I knew.
I think I mentioned in our prediction too. I mean, this was.
You said he was a really dangerous fighter. I said I knew somewhat about him, but I hadn't watched a lot of them. Obviously, getting ready for the show today, I watched a lot more of them and everything. I just feel like Jared Anderson, I couldn't understand the game plan he had. Like, it was like, okay, Martin is a very big guy with powerful hands. Now he don't have the fast. He's not fleet of feet. He don't have the fastest feet on him.
Right.
But his hands, when it comes pretty fast for a guy his size. Not in combinations. It's not in like a lot of combinations, but the 1-2 or the one and the one where he threw his jab, they come pretty swift for a big guy.
I agree.
Now obviously I thought Jared Anderson had the hand speed hands down on him, had the foot speed hands down on him. Obviously, Martin had the power, and it's just I felt like he stood there in front of Martin too long. In the first round, I think he was hitting Martin with a lot of shots. He was winning the first round. He was doing good, but I thought he started getting greedy. He started thinking, "Oh, I got this guy. I'm too fast for this guy. I can hit him when I want to hit him." And as I was watching that fight, I'm looking at Martin and I'm like, he's not really being affected by these punches. He's walking forward and he's just waiting. You can see the hand cock, and he's just like, when I get my chance, like a fucking ogre, just walking forward, like, dude, when I get my chance, I'm gonna hit you so hard, and you're gonna feel it. And like I said, Jared Anderson, I don't know if because he felt like he can hit him when he wanted to. He stayed. He would hit and stay right where he was at, so he was able to be found. And then once Martin cut off the ring a little bit, he got in the corner, man. He threw the uppercut, and it must have been something they seen that they say the uppercut's going to be available. And once he backed Jared Anderson back against the ropes, he let it go, and it landed flush. And at that point, I'm like, oh, shit, this might be an early night, boy.
Yeah.
Like, oh, shit, because he fell through the ropes. When you see somebody, like, body half his body out the ropes, you're like, oh shit, is he okay?
Good. Yeah, it's not good.
That's not good. Hey, that's not the pictures you want your family to be seeing.
That's not the poster you want on the social media.
Hey, so when I tell you that is the fucking worst, to be hanging outside of the ring, a motherfucker knock you outside of the ring, that's just horrible. But then he got up and he started hitting him again. He started showing the speed, and I think he tacked the body good, and he started showing the speed again. But it was just like he just kept standing there and exchanging. And you hear boxers say a lot of times, you're either out or you're in. Meaning like you don't want to be in there where he can still hit you. If you're gonna, especially being a smaller guy, get up in his chest and get to it. Then get out. Don't get out of range. He was in range all night. All night for Martin to hit him. And not just with power shots. The jab was landing at will. And those weren't like, I'm trying to check my distance jabs. Those weren't.
He's too big. He's too big for that check my Those are battering rams he was throwing down.
Those are Lennox Lewis jabs. Those are Klitschko jabs.
Those jabs were Democratic Republic of the Congo jabs, bro. And that guy is way too big and way too strong for you to be playing that game with him. By the way, Garrett, sorry to cut you off, but
go ahead.
Jan says the thing with Bacoli is he doesn't wind up on his punches, and his hands come from all angles. Reminds me of George Foreman. And then we got Spartam in here, 72. Appreciate you being in here. Spartam says, you Americans don't know Bacoli, and you're overestimated Anderson in Europe. Everyone knew that Bacoli was going to knock Anderson out. And, I'll say before I let Gary finish his thought here, Spartam. I appreciate you being in here. By the way, subscribe and join if you haven't already. But we did during our prediction. I mean, we were weary of Bacoli, and I even said, I thought this fight can kind of probably go either way. I mean, I went with Anderson because I'm going to go with the American fighter. Typically, that's just who I am. But I did pick Anderson to win because I thought he'd be able to maybe box better than he did here. But he stood in front of Bacoli, like Gary is saying, and just didn't seem to have a plan B, Gary. I mean, there just wasn't a plan B, Gary. It was just
I don't know why that was plan A. I mean, why was that plan A? Who told you to do that?
Gary, that looked like Medicare Plan C to me out there, brother. I don't know what the hell was going out there. And I said to myself, man, he needs to, dude, it was right off the first round. He got crushed by that right uppercut. I think it was in the first round, right? First or second? I don't remember.
First round. It was first round.
First round, he got crushed with a right uppercut. I said to myself, whoa, this is going to be a long night. And I was hoping, he could come back and maybe box a little bit. And he seemed to make like a bit of a spirited effort to come back. And he seemed like he had a chance of maybe like moving around and boxing and being able to handle Bacoli. But he just stuck around in the wrong range, Gary, like you said, for too long, man.
Yeah. No, I mean, and just so George did say Bacoli was dangerous. So us Americans know a little bit.
Yeah,
George did say it.
I knew. I felt like this was close to a 50-50 fight from what I know of Bacoli. but I just felt like Anderson could pull it off in his home, in his home country, in the United States. It's a big opportunity for him. He's the younger guy. I was hoping he could pull it off, and he just couldn't. He couldn't do it this time.
And see, here's the thing is that, I knew I had seen some of Bakole. I'm not gonna sit here and say I was as much as George. George knew a lot more about Bakole than I did. I seen a couple of his fights, but like I said, afterwards I went and looked at more, and I still feel like Anderson, he had a chance to win this fight. He fought the wrong fight. The fight needed to be. You need to stay at you. Once you get in, you get your shots, get out, turn them, give them angles, and he was sometimes just sitting there, especially on the ropes. He was just there on the ropes. Right, dude, you got to get out of there, man. You can't stay on the ropes with a puncher, dude. You gotta, you let him corner you too much, stayed on there too much, and he tried to, and because of the distance he was at, when you tried to do the little lean back from the jab or any of the punches, they weren't dodging him because you couldn't lean back far enough. His arms are too long. Yeah. And this is the thing that Shakur Stevenson is great at. Shakur Stevenson is great at judging distance. Shakur Stevenson knows exactly where you can hit him and where you can't hit him. Where I'm in danger, where I'm not in danger. And it seems like Anderson didn't learn that yet of where he's out of danger, where he's in danger. Right. And he was just standing in front of a guy who outweighs you, has more power than you. And I mean, he was trying to fend him off, and he was hitting Bakole with some clean shots. It ain't like Bakole had the best defense. He was hitting Bakole but Bakole was like, remember when Bob Sapp fought when he first came on the scene and dudes were hitting him and he was just walking through them? Like Bakole wasn't even trying to block the body shots at the beginning. He was like, you can have that.
It didn't phase him at all.
You can have that, buddy.
Yeah, it didn't phase him at all. And I want to talk about Bakole a little bit because, I am impressed with him, but I want to read some of the comments that are coming in. Gary James says, Anderson could have boxed him from a distance, but kept standing in the pocket. Why? And that's, kind of what me and Gary are asking ourselves. Spartan72 says, what's impressive about Bakole, in addition to its power, it's an arm speed and precision. And, that's something that I wanted to talk about too, because, Gary, you mentioned he's not the fleetest of foot. And I don't blame the guy, 6'6", 284 pounds, not being the quickest on his feet. But his hands are fast. His hands are fast for a man that size. And obviously his hands are powerful. And, I think at 6'6", 284 pounds, quick hands, feet that are apparently good enough, I just think this guy's a real problem for anyone. I think this guy's a real problem for anyone, Gary, because here's the thing. Now we'll talk a little bit about Anderson as well, where he goes from here. But I think Bakole goes nowhere but up. Look, if you were to tell me, should Bakole get an opportunity at Tyson Fury or Alexander Usyk, I would say 100%, man, because I'm still waiting for the rematch to reassess Fury, because I'm not sure if Fury has kind of plateaued or maybe on the way down now, may have passed his prime. I'm not sure. I look forward to seeing that Usyk fight to determine that. So I definitely think Bakole is deserving of that, considering Fury came off a loss. And then Usyk, you think about the guy who beat Fury and Usyk, Gary, Usyk is a cruiserweight that came up to heavyweight, 6'4", on his best day, maybe sitting down at one of those medieval, torture devices that are stretching him from both ends. He's 6'4", 230, 240. I mean, he can't be that big. He's going to have problems with a guy like Bakole. I think Fury probably manages a guy like Bakole easier than a guy like Usyk does. But even then, man, he's got big power here.
I mean, Bakole, like you said, he for a big man, he has not, like I said, not combination punches, but just like a 1-2 or one-shot punch. It comes quick for a man his size, and he has a long reach. So that's also it. And I just think that, like you said, you felt like his feet was good enough. I felt like Anderson didn't make him use his feet more. Right. Make him use his feet more. Make him move, make him turn him. get a big man to turn, because the one fight he did he lost. You know, I think what his name is, Michael Hunter. What's
Michael Hunter.
Yeah, Michael Hunter. He actually would jump in, get his shots off, and come back out. He was actually moving around the ring how Big Baby should have. Now, granted, but Coley was smaller back then. He was at 280. You could tell he was like probably down to like 260 or something back then. So he's a larger man now. But still, it was if that's how you had to fight him, at being a smaller man, which Michael Hunter was a smaller man. He was like 200 something pounds when he fought him. He used his quickness, jumped in and out. Of course, Bacoli had his moments in that fight too, with hitting him and hurting him. And I know in that fight he did hurt his hand. But if you watch that fight, Michael Hunter, he was in and out. He jumped in, got what he could, got out, got back at range. And I think Anderson needs to work on his range and learning the distance. Like, you're still in trouble. You never took yourself out of range and out of trouble. You stayed in trouble the whole fight. This is where danger is. Get out the danger zone, get in it. Get out, get in, turn them, stay off the ropes, keep the fight in the middle where it's to your advantage. And he just didn't. And Martin, he just did what he's supposed to do. He walked you down when you got against the ropes. He stuck that jab out, which he has a good jab too, man. He has a really good jab. A powerful jab, like I said before, almost like Lennox Lewis or Klitschko's. He has that. And then he also has, like he said, he throws shots from the uppercut, different angles, like almost like a hook uppercut, one, and and the right hand. He has a different selection of punches, and they all come with power. And it was almost like you've seen when Kimbo Slice, what made him viral when he fought Big D in the street fight, and he told him, hit me, and he was like, and Big D looked at his hands and was like, what's going on? I need you. That's almost how I felt like Anderson was. He was like, you can't stop him, help me.
Gary, I think it's still too early in the podcast for you to be talking about Big D, but we're just going to go ahead and read this comment here, which is fantastic from JM out in London. It says, Bacoli is known in the UK for dropping Dubois, AJ, and Usyk in sparring. Sparring is sparring. We call him the sparring world champion over here, but goddamn, you can see why he's been avoided. I mean, really, Gary, he did look on another level. He looked on another level to Jared Anderson, which I'm a little bit sad about. Now, I do think Bacoli probably next should get someone like a Zhang or a Joseph Parker at the very least. He looks like he belongs at the top of the heavyweight division, near the top of the heavyweight division, and he should get some good fights out of this, and hopefully a title opportunity if he could capitalize on whatever that next fight is. But what happens to Anderson here, Gary? What do you think happens to Jared Anderson, man?
I mean, I think it's a good learning experience. He's only 24, like he said, and I like his attitude after the fight. He was like, "Hey, yeah, you win something. He got me. He's strong." Some
people felt like he was a little too carefree about the loss. Did you feel that way, or do you?
No, I mean, what do you say? A guy knocks you through the ropes twice, and the third time dropped you. Yeah. No, I'm sorry. No, one time twice he went through the ropes. He pretty much punished you and beat you. What do you want the guy to say?
Right.
I mean, he understands that. Look, I'm 24. I can come back from this. Because let me tell you something. People say, "Oh, he took it too light." If he takes it too much the other way, then that fucks with his head, like AJ did.
I agree.
When AJ lost, or when Andy Ruiz lost. You take a loss and you go. I mean, Andy Ruiz didn't do. That wasn't his first loss, but after he lost the belt, he clearly said he got depressed. You know what I mean? Do you want a guy to go in that range? I would rather a guy to take it on the chin and be like, you know what? He got me, but I'm young. I got time. And if he takes, it's what he does after that. Because sometimes boxers say that, and then later on they'll make excuses. So hopefully he does it. I like the way he took it, and he's just like, I got to go back in the lab. I got to go back, get work. It's not the end. See, today in today's world, it's like you lose the end of the world. Back in the day, it wasn't like that, man.
I agree,
And that's why he chose to fight a fighter that was avoided. He said, I'm gonna take him on. Let's go. I'm willing to fight whoever. When they say you want to fight on this card, he said, yeah, who? It doesn't matter. I like that. You know what I mean? And then I lost. I'm gonna get back at it. And it may seem like that when he's like, I think Sean Porter said, yeah, he said that, but when he goes back, he might feel some kind of way. You never know how a guy really feels when he's alone, you know, but I'm sure it hurts and he's embarrassed. But at the end of the day, man, it's boxing, bro. Like, ain't too many people left this ring undefeated and ain't been knocked down.
Yeah, I agree. You know, I appreciate the mentality. I think especially watching my kid grow up and play baseball, you know, that's a high failure sport, right? Where, you know, if you, I mean, in baseball, if you go up to bat 10 times and you hit and you get on base 3, you're a great, you know, you're a great hitter. So that's the kind of mentality that they teach in that sport too. It's like, hey, you got to go on to the next one. You can't keep dwelling on this, you know, that ruminating on that loss or that mistake. That thing will mess you up. So we'll see what happens with Anderson, man. I think obviously he can come back from this. He's also much younger. You know, I think he's like 7 years younger than Bakole or whatever it is. So he's still got a lot of time. And I do think he has the ability and the talent to have boxed, Gary. That's what kind of drove me crazy about this fight. I do think he's got the feet. I do think he's got the athleticism. I do think he's got the skills to have boxed. And even though we're saying, you know, Bakole kind of walked through a lot of these shots, there's only so many of those you're going to take from a heavyweight, bro, before your temple or your chin or something starts to break down. So I think if he would have just fought a smarter fight, it would have been good. By the way, guys, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, join the channel, get your tickets to Fighters Rep 25 and 26. They go down September 7th and September 21st. And the only way to come watch live is to get tickets at FightersRep.com. The only other way is to join the YouTube channel, just $9.99 a month. You're not only helping us build this channel, you're helping us build this full-fledged kickboxing promotion, the best striking show on earth, Fighters Rep. Gary, let's go on to the next fight, man. I wanted to touch on Andy Ruiz versus Jarrell Miller. What were your thoughts on this fight? This was another strange one. You know, this was another one where we said, and I remember you saying this as well, we both agreed, it's going to depend on what sort of Andy Ruiz shows up, right? That's what we felt. It's going to depend on what sort of Andy Ruiz shows up. And I feel like that's what happened here, right? We both thought Andy Ruiz would win this fight. It ended up being a draw.
Which I didn't think it was a draw.
Right. And I think it was a combination. I think the result was a combination of Andy Ruiz's lack of activity, right? But also he broke his hand and it looked pretty damn bad. I don't know if it was the hand, though, or the cardio. He just looked done after like the first 4 or 5 rounds. Talk to me, Gary. What do you think about this fight?
I mean, yeah, of course, obviously breaking your hand in a fight, you know, messing it up. Obviously, that plays a part in it, but that wasn't the whole story. You can't use that all as an excuse. He looked gassed after about 4 rounds. He looked gassed. And now that's because of, like I said, the inactivity. In the first 3-4 rounds, he was giving Anderson everything he could handle. I think he was winning. He got him he got about 3 to 4 rounds in the bag. And after that, you could just see that all that weight coming on him from Gerald Anderson, you know what I'm saying? Leaning on him, pushing him. Because at the beginning, Andy Ruiz was pushing him off of him. Andy Ruiz is like moving him, pushing him back, but pushing a 300-pound man back over and over again can be tiring.
Especially when your hand's broken. Especially if your hand's broken.
Especially if you've been out in the ring for about 2 years.
That too,
Even before then, you had been out in the ring. Let's just face it. Andy Ruiz has not been active really active for the past 4 years. He hasn't got a lot of fights.
Right.
You know, the past 4 years, he hasn't been super active. So it's hard to be sharp. It's hard to have that cardio. It's hard to do all these things, and you haven't been active like that. And then to me, he came in what they said is the 3rd highest in his weight.
Yeah, he was big.
Said that
he was big, and that's the same issue he had even when he was in the ring, right? That's the same issue he had with Anthony Joshua in the second fight, Gary.
Yeah, but see, Anthony Joshua in the second fight, he said wasn't on purpose. This time they did it on purpose because they knew Big Baby, the other Big Baby, was coming in at 300 pounds. So he was like, we need to be big too. And I thought that's the wrong approach, because even if you get bigger, you're not going to be bigger than him. Yeah. So you probably should have been around like 260, where you're still a little bit mobile, where you can still have your cardio, where you can, because 270 versus you're still 30 pounds down. And I think Wilder tried that with a Fury one time. Let me get to 250. You're not used to fighting at 250. That's not where you're at. To get to 250, you're still down by 40 pounds come fight night or whatever, 40 pounds. So, I mean, I just felt like that wasn't the best decision. I know he said one fight he got down too low and that drained him. I'm not saying you got to go crazy low, but be around like 265. You know what I'm saying? 260. And where you're still not small, you still got your power, but you're not too big.
He needs to come in better shape, Gary. He needs to come in better shape. I mean, this is what's got him to lose the title to Joshua in the rematch. In my opinion, he was way out of shape. And it's not just my opinion. I mean, I spoke to, for anyone who remembers, I mean, I interviewed Manny Robles after the win and after the loss on this channel. And in each of those interviews, I'm very proud of, got over 100-something thousand views on them. I mean, those were great interviews. And, Manny Robles, in the second one seemed to be indicating that the kid just was not working as hard as he should have been working. And I think he let that first win against Anthony Joshua kind of get to his head a bit. Gary, let's hit up some of these comments before we go on, because we want to show love to the Knucklehead Nation in here a little bit. James says, I'm very surprised Miller couldn't finish the job. I thought he looked like he could have fought 3 more rounds. I agree with that, Gary. I feel like Miller should have capitalized more. I mean, whether we think he won or not, or was robbed or not, I don't think that he also gave everything that he should have given in the fight. Or maybe he did, but I do think he could have done more to really seal that deal, and he didn't. By the way, Thomas Perry says he fought Israil Big Baby Miller. Appreciate you being in here, Thomas. And Spartum says, hurts my heart to see the Ruiz who beat AJ will no longer be with us.
He dead. He's dead. He said no longer be with us like it.
Well, I mean, you might as if he's not going to stay active, Gary, he might as well just get the hell out, because he's gonna lose.
Well, this is what I wanted to say is that he hasn't been active. So you can try to train and do all these things. If you have not been active, they said it before the fight. Sean Porter said, all that sparring, all this being in the gym, doing all this is great. But if you have not been in the ring and you have not done these things, it's going to be different. You're not going to be, it's also like they say in my sport, football, that I love, is like you can train in the offseason by yourself. That don't get you into football shape. Playing football gets you into football shape. Same thing with boxing. If you're not boxing, you can't be as sharp. We heard Dron Ennis say, hey, man, it's been a year. I'm not as sharp. You know what I'm saying? I was a little rusty and everything. We hear other people say this. We just seen Crawford fight, and it's been a year since he fought. Yeah. Maybe he's feeling a little rust. You have to fight. He took 2 years off, and before that, he took more time off. And he admitted after the Anthony Joshua fight that he partied too much. He said in an interview, I partied too much. I did this, I did that, and I wasn't working as hard. And then he says, now I'm working hard. But I will give him this little benefit of doubt that he did break his hand. He said in the fifth round. So it's kind of hard to keep a big guy like that. But I don't think Jared Miller, if that was anybody else besides Big Baby, he would have been knocked out. Yeah, Big Baby don't have that necessary power to do that, and
which is crazy at 300 pounds. But Isaac McCarran says Ruiz looked like he had too many cervezas and tacos. That's ridiculous. Appreciate your free smoke being in here. Listen, Gary, did you think I mean, I would have leaned towards Jarrell Miller. I wasn't exactly scoring this fight, but did you think Jarrell Miller won the fight?
Oh yeah. He won. He
Yeah.
won. I thought Andrew Ruiz towards the end showed some heart. He kind of fought a little bit back, maybe stole a couple rounds, but I still think Jarrell Miller won that fight.
Yeah.
And just
Yeah.
because of after the fourth round, I felt like Andrew Ruiz was just like spurts here and there, nothing.
You know, and that's the sad part because, you know, the fact that he broke his hand, I mean, it's confusing, right? I don't know if he was inactive because he's just out of shape, which is what I thought when I was watching the fight. I was like, this guy's just too out of shape, right? Like he's not in good enough shape to win this fight. But because he says he broke his hand, you know, I'm not sure whether to put it on the cardio or on the hand. You know, I want to see him again. I hope he's active. I hope they put him in there and they run it back. I will say this, though. You know, a lot of that crowd was pro Andy Ruiz when that fight started.
Yep.
That crowd was not pro Andy Ruiz when that fight ended. I don't know if you heard them. They were booing the hell out of Andy Ruiz. They thought Jarrell Big Baby Miller won, and I thought he received a lot of love, especially for a guy from New York, from these people on the West Coast, and that's how they are, man, on the West Coast. You know, if you come to fight, they're gonna love you, bro.
And here's the other thing with Jarrell Miller. His last fight, he was out of shape. He gassed.
Yeah.
And this fight, he looked in much better shape. And I know he's working with Bozianis and those guys. I don't know what they did, but he looked in much better shape, like they said earlier. It felt like he could go a couple more rounds. He was when against Du Bois, he ran out of steam.
Yeah, and remember, I think
Dubois, whatever you say his name. Huh?
Dubois.
Yeah, Dubois. You know, I'm American, so whatever.
And remember, he was doing some work with Antonio Tarver too, I think. So you know, big shout out to the Magic Man, Antonio Tarver. Much love to him. You know, congrats to Miller. I mean, I would have probably given Miller the nod too, but I wasn't scoring it, so you know, I'm not 100% sure. I did think Andy did well in the first few rounds, but really he let Baby Miller take over that fight. But I also think Baby Miller could have done more, put a little bit more pressure on him, and maybe try to get him out of there or something, get out of the judge's hands. Gary, on to the next, man. On to the next. It was a big one. It was a fight that a lot of people felt sold a lot of tickets to that stadium as well. It was Isaac Pitbull Cruz versus Rayo Valenzuela, you know, and this was a fight where me and you, we picked Cruz, right? But again, we said, you know, Rayo, considering the way he looked in his last fight, I said, I think specifically, I wanted to see how much he progressed. I felt that if he was progressing and staying on the same trajectory as he'd been in his last few fights, this is what I was thinking, but I guess maybe I didn't communicate it as well as I am now. If he was on the same trajectory as he was in his last few fights, then he could have definitely won this fight. I did think we indicated that we thought he could win this fight for sure. Much taller guy, as we saw. Decent skills, showed a lot more skills when he beat Colbert in the rematch. Just looked like a good boxer. I think I told you he looked like he was working really hard too with Virgil Ortiz in the same camp. And I liked what I saw from those documentaries where, you know, they were following him around in that camp and they were talking to Virgil Ortiz in an interview. And I liked what I was hearing about Rayo. He pulls off an upset and beats Pitbull Cruz. Kind of tell me what your thoughts are on this one, Garrett.
I mean, obviously, I picked Pitbull, and I thought Pitbull. I just didn't think Ryu was going to be able to avoid Pitbull, and that's the main thing you have to be able to do. You have to have with Pitbull. You have to have cardio. You have to have superior boxing and enough cardio to keep your superior boxing through 12 rounds.
Yeah,
because he has extreme cardio. He's not going to stop. He's going to pound at you. He can hit hard, and he's going to keep coming. And that's why I picked Pitbull. I just felt like a Pitbull was going to be relentless and eventually wear him down, because there's not too many people who can withstand that. But Ryu showed that I am a superior boxer. I am a boxer. And this makes me think that this is why Pitbull did not want to fight Shakur Stevenson. Remember, he says he didn't want to fight Shakur Stevenson. Shakur Stevenson is a chicken. He's going to run. Shakur Stevenson would have did the same thing. And Shakur Stevenson had been saying that Pitbull would be easy work for him. And Shakur Stevenson would have done the same thing because Shakur Stevenson can do the same thing that Rayo did to Pitbull all night. To Pitbull all night. I just feel like,
Gary, what's interesting to me, though, and I'll let you continue that
go ahead.
For cutting you off. Rayo showed improvement to the point where, now he's another guy we could talk about in these divisions, right? I think that's something we discussed in the prediction. Like, if this guy can get through Pitbull, because me and you felt like you got to be a pretty elite boxer to deal with Pitbull Cruz and beat him. Do you think Rayo is one of those guys now? Like, is he a guy who can compete with the best in the division, the best boxers in the division?
Well, I mean, he beat Colbert, which Colbert is a pretty good fighter.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And he just beat Isaac Cruz. So yeah, I mean, you got to throw his name. You got to throw his name in there because he beat two pretty good boxers. You know what I'm saying? Like fighters. Well, one is a fighter, one is a more of a boxer fighter,
and totally different styles. I feel like that's where you got to credit. He beat a boxer who's like more athletic and I guess sort of slick like Colbert, and then he beat a bruiser, a brawler like Pitbull Cruz.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Like Colbert has fast hands. He's fast. He can hit. Yeah. We seen him go through wars too when he beat him. Yeah. Then he comes back and beat Isaac Cruz. You know what I'm saying? Pitbull. He beats him, and he does it pretty easily. If we want to be real, I don't know, was Sean Porter tweet or somebody said, "Oh, some of these rounds are tough to grade." I'm like, for who? He is schooling Pitbull right now. Yeah. I don't know who is tough to grade for.
Sean Porter, man. I like Sean Porter, but we have a different idea. We have a different idea of what boxing is, I think, than Sean Porter for sure.
I just was like, Pitbull Cruz is getting schooled. I thought it was a pretty easy fight to score. I didn't think it was close. No. And I just feel like Cruz, his Achilles heel is he's so small. He's the only guy that's smaller than Tank Davis. No. And he's not super athletic. His superpower is that he's fucking relentless. You know what I'm saying? He's like your kids when you're trying to keep calling your name and they never fucking stop. And you're like, what the fuck do you want? That is Pitbull Cruz. He's like the seatbelt. When you're driving and you don't click your seatbelt and it keeps going beep, 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 till you just give in and you buckle up.
Or when you got a box on the driver's seat or on the passenger seat.
Yeah. You're like, shut the fuck up. He just makes you give in to him. And he can hit, and he's got pretty solid defense. He comes in with that high guard because he's so short. It's hard to get to his body. You punch down low, you might hit him below the belt because he's just so compact. But his Achilles heels is, the reach advantage was crazy. The athleticism was better from
the height was crazy.
Yeah, the height. It was just he was at a disadvantage at everything, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And so when you get a guy like that can withstand every time he tried to cut him off in the corner, he circled back to the middle of the ring. Come back to the middle of the ring where I can use my reach, my distance. I'm not gonna let you trap me in the corner. We're gonna keep going back to the middle of the ring, and that's just.
No, I couldn't agree more, man. I thought it was a fantastic performance by Rayo. I look forward to seeing who they match him up with next. He was impressive, man. He was impressive. I do think, though, where I'm most impressed with him is beating the boxer with big punches and beating the puncher with superior boxing. He showed an ability to adapt that I really liked, and I think that's something you see from the best boxers. And if he continues improving the way he is, I think the guy can be like, a real factor in those lower divisions. So let's go on to the big one. Before we get to it, guys, please, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. Me and Gary do this every Monday and Thursday live. We also typically go live after the big fights, but I'm in the process of a bit of a relocation here. So forgive me, we didn't go live after Saturday night. I'm also currently planning Fighters Rep 25 and 26. Be sure to get your tickets at FightersRep.com or join the channel to watch there. Your support is appreciated. Super chats, super thanks, purchase of merchandise, whatever you do is going to get reinvested into the promotion. And we're going to continue to make it the best promotion possible and the best channel possible. Gary, the main event, Israil Madrimov, Terence Crawford. Man, let me say this. This was a very high level, high speed, high risk chess match between two fantastic fighters. I'll say I thought our prediction was pretty good. We both had Crawford, I believe, winning by decision. I know I had him winning by decision. Did you have winning by decision, or you had a knockout? Okay. I thought most likely by decision. I think I told you multiple times. I feel like Madrimov is a very dangerous guy. I know he didn't have the pro experience of a Terence Crawford, right? I don't care how much. Listen, I don't care how much amateur experience you got. It's not the same as pro experience. So that's why I thought he would be at a bit of a disadvantage. But where I thought he'd be at an advantage was that he was the bigger guy. He's athletic. He's strong. And I wanted to see if Crawford could handle his punches and how he handled Crawford's punches. A lot to unpack in this fight, Gary. Kind of give me your thoughts, and we'll kind of go through it here together because I've got a lot on this one.
Okay, so before I give my fight analysis, right?
Yeah.
I have to go on a rant. So let me go on a rant for a second, George. All right.
Do it.
Just a quick rant.
Do it.
Okay. So we watch all the undercards, right? They were great undercards, everything. And we're thinking we're going to, after Pitbull loses, waiting on the fight. Now we're on Eastern time, okay? In America, okay?
Yeah.
All right? It is 1 o'clock in the fucking morning, okay? I see them talking. They talk. And I'm like, okay, let's get to it now because I'm getting tired, right? Then Eminem comes out. So, all right, the fight is about to start, right? Okay? The fight is about to start. Eminem does a song. And I'm like, oh, he's doing the whole song. He's not just walking them out.
Yeah.
Then he does another song. This motherfucker does 6 songs, okay? It is fucking 1 o'clock at night. All right.
This dude did an album. This dude did an album out there, bro.
Listen. Hey, listen. I'm tired of Mom's spaghetti. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to hear that shit right now. Look, you do one song, you come out and you fight. I can't. Look, I get it. Lose Yourself. I don't know how much money he made off of Lose Yourself on that song, but you guys are about to lose me because I was going to sleep, okay? You're fucking finna lose me, okay? We don't need a fucking concert before the main event at 1 o'clock in the fucking morning, okay? Let's get to the fight so I can fucking watch the fight, all right?
Is this what he meant when he said, you don't want to F with Shady? Shady will F and kill you, because he was killing me out there for that long, bro. As much as we love him, come on, bro.
I like Slim Shady, but I need him to be Marshall Mathers for the night, okay? Sit down and watch the fucking fight, okay?
Yeah. Take a Vicodin and sit down for a bit.
Yeah.
I hear you. But on to the main event, Gary. I mean, what did you think about this fight? I thought this fight was a lot of fun.
I mean, I didn't think it was a lot of fun. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Yeah.
I thought the fight was okay. I mean, it was like you said, it was a chess match. There was a lot of thinking. It was a lot of posturing. It was a lot of feints. It wasn't a lot of hands being thrown through a lot of rounds. It wasn't a lot of hands.
It was a lot of feints. It was a lot of feints.
It was not a lot of fists thrown. It was some fists, and I get it. They're both, and this is what I was telling you before when I felt with Tank and Shakur how the fight was gonna go. When you get two people trying to counter each other, it's not gonna be a lot of hands thrown because they're trying to get the reason why you feint, the reason why you posture, you're trying to get the other guy to come so you can come over top or you come underneath and you can counter him. And Terence,
Gary? What are you trying to get the other guy to do?
pause.
No Diddy. Continue. No Marshall Mathers. Continue.
Well, I'm just saying, look, come over top.
Oh God. This podcast gets worse.
We turn it into Mason Cameron here, all right?
The later it gets, the worse this thing gets.
But no, I'm just saying, like both of them were, and the reason why I picked knockout, because looking at Madrimov fights before, you know what I'm saying? He's a little bit more aggressive. He jumps in with looping punches. And remember, in my prediction, I felt like he was going to jump in with a looping punch or jump in being with a wilder punch. He's going to get caught. And that was my prediction from the beginning. And then after the fight, Terence Crawford thought the same thing. He literally said, I thought he was going to come in with like these wide punches, these loop. He was patient. He didn't fight how he normally fight. So it got me thinking. I was like, these fighters are right when they say they don't really watch film. Like you hear Boots, Ennis, and his dad say, we don't really watch film because they're not going to fight me the same way they fight everybody else.
Yeah.
We had which fighter from FightersRep? I think it was Mark Reels. Was it Mark Reels? I forgot who it was. So I don't really watch. Maybe it was Milshon. So I don't really watch a lot of film because they may not fight me this way. You know what I mean? And so Terence Crawford thought, hey, he's gonna come in. I got a chance to counter because Terence Crawford is a natural counter puncher, and he didn't. Both of them. He said both of us was waiting to counter each other, and it was a lot of posturing. Now I felt like Terence Crawford started letting his hands go at the later rounds, like 10, 11, 12, when Bomac told him, hey, we need to step it up a little bit, put the pressure. We need these rounds. He started letting his hands go, and I thought he had a lot more success when he let his hands go even more, being as he landed, I mean, one time, 2 uppercuts straight, bam, got him in there. And you know, and he took some shots, but I thought it took him well. To be at a higher weight, it didn't seem like it buckled him, didn't hurt him. It didn't seem like it worried him.
Good
he took him well, it didn't really bother him.
Madrimov landed some good shots for sure.
Yeah, but it's boxing, man. Somebody's gonna land a shot on
you.
You can't, and that's the thing is boxing. People go, oh, I hear goofy ass Teofimo sitting there saying, oh, a guy with 11 fights shouldn't be hitting you that much.
Oh,
motherfucker, a guy with 8 losses had your shit looking like you can barely see out of it. Okay, so let's not do that to Teofimo. But go ahead.
I felt like, okay, so there was a couple things for me that really stood out about this fight, right? First off, I thought Madrimov would win like 4 rounds. I think I said something like that. He ended up on my scorecard, and I actually scored this one. He ended up winning 5. What won Terence Crawford this fight for me? Sorry, what won Terence Crawford this fight for me was the last 2 rounds. And the reason he won those last 2 rounds is because he's experienced, he's a veteran, and he had the urgency, Gary, to go out there and take the fight in rounds 11 and 12. And I appreciate, I listened to Madrimov's corner. Is it Joel Diaz, I believe? I listened to him. He was upset. Eddie Hearn, they felt like they won the fight. But I felt like I really sat there and scored this thing meticulously. I even watched one of the rounds over again because that's how close some of the rounds were, Gary. But I think if you were scoring this fight correctly on significant strikes, I felt like it was a tie going into round 11 and 12, going into the championship rounds, Gary. And in the championship rounds, my brother, the cream rises to the top. And that's where, for me, Terence Crawford, the pound for pound, probably number 1, rose to the top and showed everybody why he's that guy. Now, besides that fantastic experience that comes from Terence Crawford that makes him so special, besides that sticking out for me, what else stuck out for me in this fight was, man, Terence Crawford, Gary, did not look like a smaller guy to me. I mean, I hear what everybody is saying. No, I hear what everybody is saying that Madrimov looked a little bit thicker, but I felt like Crawford was a touch taller. He was a touch taller. And the other thing I noticed was that at the weigh-in, Crawford, despite weighing almost the same as Madrimov, still had a six-pack, was in great shape. And I don't think the weight, that's one thing I'm really impressed by Crawford, right? Is I don't think the weight really had much of a negative effect on him. I will say I'm impressed by the way he filled out to 154. I do think, though, his feet weren't what they typically are. And I don't know, Gary, if his feet weren't what they typically are because he's now 37 years of age or whatever he is, or because he was fighting at 154 pounds, right? So you're not going to be able to move really, I think, the same way you would move at 147 or whatever it is, 135 or wherever he was at before. So these are some of the things that stuck out for me, right? Was Crawford taking the initiative to win this fight. Crawford looking like pretty strong at 154 pounds to me, if you ask me. I mean, Madrimov looked strong too, but Crawford looked strong. Was, like you said, he was able to eat those punches. And it looked to me like he was landing some sharp shots on Madrimov too. It looked to me like he could hurt Madrimov. You know what I mean? That's what it looked to me. But he also looked not as – he didn't look as athletic in the feet to me. I don't know if you saw that as well. Kind of give me your thoughts, Gary.
I mean, I didn't really see the problem with the feet. I think styles makes fight. And I didn't think that Madrimov really pressed him.
You might be right there. Yeah, you might be right there.
I don't feel like Madrimov really pressed him to move around a lot. Like if we go back to like the Avanesian fight or the Errol Spence fight, they pressed him so he moves.
Yeah.
Madrimov was doing a lot of irky-jerkies type of stuff, feigning, posturing, trying to get him to come out. And so I'm not going to move. You're not coming forward, rushing me. I don't have to use my legs because I'm going to use my legs and get my legs tired. I still felt like it was times he gave Madrimov angles. When he came and hit him a couple times, he gave me angles on the side of him. Madrimov had to turn around and face him. I just think that, for me, I just feel like he was. This is the first time at 154 too. We got to give him that too.
Yeah.
So he doesn't really know what the power's like there. He doesn't really know what the power's like. How his power is going to transfer, even though it's been transferring every time he moves up. It's been going with him, but he doesn't know what the power's coming back is like. Yeah. And he already said Madrimov was strong, so he felt the strength of him. I just
wanted to give a critique though for each guy, right? My critique for Crawford in this fight, even though I thought he did a fantastic job, and like I said, he took initiative. If I give him one critique, it's just I felt like his feet were a little bit heavier than they usually are. Probably though, I don't know if it's age. Excuse me. Or maybe like you're saying, he didn't really have to move around that much. That too. It could be the weight, whatever. As far as Madrimov, I want to give a critique to Madrimov too. Too much fucking fainting, dude. Like I appreciate it. But I felt like in a fight that's that close, right? Where you're going against the number one pound for pound guy, you got a name, you got a chance to be a household name. And I do think his stock rose tremendously in this fight. He showed that he belongs. But you need to do a little bit more attacking. If he would have done a little bit more attacking, Gary, in this fight, he could have maybe won this fight. I want to say the first half of the fight was this. I mean, the whole first half of the fight, he was doing this. And it was just like, holy shit, dude, do something, like throw a punch,
But to me, that was not just on Madrimov. That was also on Bud too, because I felt the critique I have for Bud.
True.
If you kind of like you see the guy is not attacking how you thought he was going to attack, not coming at you. And I know naturally Bud is a counterpuncher. Naturally, he's a counterpuncher. That's what he is. He'll jab you to death. I thought the jab was great.
It was.
He'll jab you to death to get you to come in and get tired of jab and come at him. And so he can land a shot on you. But the beauty in certain fighters is that if you don't attack them, then fine, fuck it, I'll come attack you.
Yeah.
And I felt Bud did that in like the 10th to 12th. I felt like he could have did that. He could have started doing that around round 6 and started coming forward, throwing more shots and combinations a little bit more. And hold on, wait. Let me just say this.
Go ahead.
I feel like he could have done more of that. And I also thought Madrimov, he had in his head that because he said at the fight, I'm the champ. He has to take it from me. No, he's the draw. You have to take it from him. Because all else fails, he's getting it. Not you. This is not like old school boxing where you have to beat the champ. No, you have to beat the draw. Terence Crawford is the bigger name, bigger guy. You got to know that coming in, that I'm going to have to take some chances. Now, I do think him not being as wild gave Terence Crawford some problems, because he's like, yo, I kind of want him to come in. I kind of looking for this, and it threw Terence Crawford off. He even said it himself that Madrimov being so patient threw him off. So I do think that's what Madrimov was like, this is kind of working. But you just got to, the rounds were so close at the beginning that you just got to do a little bit more, because at the end of the day, they're going to give it to Terence if it's that close and nobody's really landing anything really effective. It's going to go to Terence. And I only had him winning 4 rounds. So that was me.
You had Madrimov winning 4?
4.
Yeah, I mean, I had him winning
5, but I had 4.
Yeah, I had him winning 5. I thought 4. It could have been 4 because for me, the first round was a toss-up. I didn't know who won the first round.
I gave it to Bud.
I gave it to Madrimov. So that's the difference between our scorecards, I think. So for me, Bud came out in rounds 11 and 12. He knew he had to go win that fight. That's why he did what he did, Gary. That's when he landed those 2 uppercuts back to back. He knew he had to win
how
that
effective he was doing that, though, right? He was effective.
He had to come out there and do something. Now, another thing I brought up in the prediction that I thought would happen, but really didn't happen the way I thought it would, although you could make an argument that it kind of happened, was I thought because I do believe the American style, especially Terence Bud Crawford style, is the most effective in all of boxing. I think I told you that Soviet style, that moving around, it requires a lot of energy, that style that Madrimov uses. And I thought he would burn out later in the fight. And that could have had something to do with why he lost the 11th and 12th round and as well. But I'm going to go ahead and give it to Crawford. I'm not going to blame it on Madrimov being tired in the 11th and 12th, because he didn't look that tired. I thought they both looked a little bit tired. In fact, I thought Crawford looked a little bit more tired than Madrimov in 11th and 12th, if you ask me. But I just felt like he dug deeper. And he wanted to fight, and he made it happen. Let me ask you, Gary. Go ahead.
I mean, me and you text about this. I didn't see that. I didn't see him getting tired. I
saw Crawford gasping for air.
I mean,
it looked like to me.
I mean, my thing is, it's a normal. Obviously, in a 12-round fight, you're not as fresh as you were at the beginning. But I didn't see anything different from Crawford, like he was tired, or Madrimov. And that's thing. I think Madrimov lost round 11th and 12th because Terence Crawford started to open up more. He stopped waiting for Madrimov to come.
He had to go get it. He had to go get it.
But this was, and Bomac even told him, hey, we need to step on the gas. Bomac said at the fight, I told him, hey, we need to step on the gas these rounds. You know what I'm saying? Because he said Bomac knew that, hey, it's some of these rounds that were not much activity, but he'll land, like Madrimov will land a punch and the crowd will go, oh. But Bomac was like, I didn't think he was winning it, but you never know. It can be swayed by a punch. So you want to make sure you secure the fight. So go out there. And I like Bomac for that as a trainer. Like, look, we don't know what happened in them earlier rounds, because them earlier rounds were like bullshit, to be honest with you. And this is my thing is also, we criticize Shakur that he had a boring fight. This wasn't as boring, but this was okay fight. And I mean, I get it. If you're a diehard boxing fan and you like the chess match that's going on, but nobody paid to see Professor X fight, where he's going through your mind and you're going back and forth, talking to each other through your fucking mind. You know what I'm saying? Him and Jean Grey.
We want Wolverine and Sabretooth. That's what we want.
I mean, not that, but I'm just saying, you want to see a little bit more action, a little bit more letting your hands go. I get it as a boxing enthusiast, but as far as a fan-friendly fight, that really wasn't the most fan-friendly fight. If you're a real, like, technical boxing fan or whatever, you like, I see what they were doing. But like I said, I still felt like, you know, it could have been let his hands go a little early. I understand not in the first 4 or 5 rounds because you haven't been at 154. You got to see what it's like.
Gary, let me ask you the closing questions because we've already been on here for an hour. So what's next?
I got a question for you too, but go ahead.
For sure. What's next for Terence Crawford and what's next for Madrimov? You know, if you ask me, right, I guess we could still do a Crawford-Canelo fight, but I don't think that goes, from what I saw, I don't know if that goes well for Crawford. I think he's way too small for 168 pounds, but I wouldn't put anything past him. He could still do it. I think it's a better idea for him to maybe try to unify 154 pounds. I think that would be an exciting exclamation point to his career. And I do think Madrimov just continues to campaign because I think this fight raised his stock even though he lost.
For me, you already took my question away because I was gonna ask you about Canelo. But I mean, for me, with you know, I think Crawford should probably get another fight at 154. See if he can get another big fight at 154 for a belt, of course. I don't think you fight at 154 for nothing but a belt. Another fight, I would like to have him another fight at 154 or 160, but I know that's probably not going to be if you want the Canelo fight. So another fight at 154, and I still think that he could have a chance against Canelo because you can't judge by this fight because Canelo is not going to wait. Canelo's going to come forward like Terence like you to do. He's going to throw more punches than Madrimov did. He's going to try to walk Terence Crawford down. And Terence Crawford, obviously, I don't think he's going to knock out Canelo. He doesn't have that power. And Canelo's been hit by 175-pounders. But I think he still has a chance to outbox him if Canelo's going to keep coming forward and attack him.
I don't like that fight. I don't like that fight for Crawford.
Hey, it's big money.
I'll watch it. Yeah, I'll watch it. You know,
if you go win another belt at 154, if you win another belt at 154, have a better performance against Fundora, who's going to throw a lot of punches, or whoever the guy is. Win some more belts. Go up and fight Canelo. Even if you lose, it's a risk worth taking because of the money and the legacy. And the legacy.
I just don't want people to hold it against him if he loses because you can't expect they're going to hold it against him if he loses to Canelo. And that's what bothers me. That's what bothers me about it. You know these casuals are going to hold it against him. This guy, you're asking for too much, I believe, to make this guy go up to 168 pounds to fight Canelo. That's a very tough ask. I think what he did against Madrimov on Saturday was a very tough ask, much as going up to 168 pounds. 2 more weight classes, Gary. I mean, there's weight classes for a reason, Gary. 2 more weight classes. You're going to send this guy up to go fight Canelo? Why? Who does he have to prove this to? I mean, if he does it, it should just be for money and that's it. Go do it for money and get the hell out.
Well, this is what Terence Crawford said he's looking for. He's looking for a legacy and he's looking for money. Where can you get the most money and what would be the biggest thing to your legacy? He goes up and beat Canelo at 168. You got to put him in the top 5 all time boxers.
But if he goes up there and gets knocked out, which is possible, like it's really possible if he goes up there and gets knocked out.
And you know what?
Because that's a tough ask.
And you know what? This is the reason why Canelo originally said he wouldn't take the fight because he said if I beat him, I was supposed to. Yeah. If Terence Crawford goes up there and loses, he was supposed to. But you said it's a big axe. Roy Jones late in his career went up to heavyweight. He went from 185 to 200 pounds, and Ruiz was a champion and was bigger than him.
Gary, he fought the quiet man Ruiz.
He was a champion. He beat Evander Holyfield.
Gary, we're not talking about Canelo Alvarez. We're talking about the quiet man Ruiz, bro.
Okay, so what do you think Ruiz weighed naturally that night?
Here, it doesn't matter. Ruiz wasn't a knockout artist. Just hear me out. Ruiz wasn't a knockout artist. Ruiz wasn't a fantastic heavyweight, even though he had a title. Nobody ever thought about Ruiz being in the top pound for pound fighters. Dude, Canelo is a legacy pound for pound fighter that wipes people out, man. I mean,
I
this is a
I
much
agree.
bigger. If you ask me, this is much bigger ask than Roy Jones going up to beat Ruiz.
But Roy was willing to fight Tyson too at the time. He said he was supposed to. He was going to go up to fight Tyson.
No, bro.
But he said in the interview,
No,
Roy said he was supposed to fight Tyson. He said I was supposed to fight Tyson too.
I'm glad he didn't.
And that's what happened. But what I'm saying that's why they fought in the exhibition, because they were supposed to fight at one point.
Yeah.
So, but my point to you is that I understand Ruiz is not Canelo, but Ruiz was probably naturally 215, 220. Roy Jones is naturally not that big. He struggled to get to 200. He just did get to 200.
And then he cut weight and was never the same.
Yeah, because he went back down. You can't do that.
Yeah.
But even you can go to a person like Manny Pacquiao. I know Manny Pacquiao did it over time, but he went to 8 divisions. Manny Pacquiao started at 115 pounds? Went all the way to 147?
We also don't know how Manny Pacquiao did that. There's some speculation out there. Spartan says, I'd like to see Crawford against Virgil Ortiz. I think
he will beat the shit out of Virgil Ortiz.
Badass fight. That would be a badass fight.
He will beat the shit out of Virgil Ortiz.
I don't know about beat the shit out of, bro.
Beat the shit out of Virgil Ortiz.
I don't agree with that.
Okay.
But listen, guys, we appreciate you guys joining us. It's been over an hour. You know, me and Gary are doing this a couple times a week. Please tune in, subscribe, join. We appreciate you guys. Let us know what you think in the comments section. If you want to curse Gary out, feel free to. If you want to curse me out, feel free to. We'll respond.
Hey, it is not the black guy. It's Gary or ignorant behavior.
Appreciate you, Gary. Appreciate you guys. Have a great night. Thank you, guys.
Yeah.